Like many of you out there, I am a longtime fan of Batman. It's kinda hard not to be. I mean, come on.
Batman to all points. I could use some air support, since I can't fly at all.
And again, like many of you out there, I was anxiously awaiting the arrival of Matt Reeves' The Batman in theaters. And my anxiety mainly came from being worried if I was going to get something like this, or like this. But instead of talking about the theatrical release, this video today is going to be centered on the recently public deleted scene between the Batman and the Joker. A few years ago, I made a dialogue dive centered on the Joker's introduction in The Dark Knight, and I feel here is another excellent opportunity to go over the construction of high-quality dialogue. For those of you who are new to the channel, I've been editing scripts and novels for almost a decade now, so you can say that getting into the nitty-gritty of writing is a bit of an addiction of mine. Writing dialogue can not only be very subjective, it can be truly difficult. So my hope is that by seeing the objective, functional writing choices made in this scene, some of you may become more confident in your own ability to craft compelling, efficient dialogue. I will do my best to avoid esoteric "the curtains were blue" interpretations and stick mainly to functional writing techniques and tools. So here is how things will go. I will play the clip of Batman and the Joker, and when I see something of note, I will pause the clip and provide some commentary on it. If you want to watch the clip all the way through without my interruptions first, I will include a link in the description. Now, without further blabbering from me, let's get right into this awesome scene.
Present. Almost our anniversary, isn't it? There's a serial killer. I want your perspective.
So, I want to start by stressing the fact that first impressions are huge when considering dialogue. How a scene opens sticks in the mind of a reader or viewer. The same goes with how a scene closes. This is a narrative consideration that stems from a psychological principle called the recency and latency bias. We pay the most attention to things that happen first and last. This is why many stories start off with a bang or a hook. It immediately gets you invested. This is what Joker's bank heist scene was to start The Dark Knight. But just focusing on writing dialogue, recency and latency bias is a powerful tool because the first words in a scene can be used to subtly frame the progression of both the characters and the scene. The opening lines between Batman and the Joker is a great example of this. Let's listen to them one more time.
Present. Almost our anniversary, isn't it? There's a serial killer. I want your perspective.
The Joker makes a commentary about it being a 1-year anniversary between him and Batman. Do we know if this is the anniversary of when they met, when he was put into Arkham, when he became a criminal? No, none of that, but that's not the point. The purpose of this line serves two narrative functions. First, it sets the timeline for the Joker's existence. Director Matt Reeves wanted this entire film to be an exploration of the early days of these famous comic book characters.
And this killer in this story is not yet the character that we come to know, right? So everybody's in their kind of infancy.
So the Joker stating this allows we viewers to know the time frame of the setting. The second functional purpose is much more important. The Joker's comment about an anniversary shows he's focused on his relationship with the Batman. And I mean this in the most cynical, evil way possible. The Joker is only talking to Batman because he wants things to get personal. He wants to get into Batman's head because that is how he can gain power in the interaction. Conversely, Batman's initial dialogue sets the stage for him trying to keep things as transactional and impersonal as possible.
There's a serial killer. I want your perspective.
This is because Batman enters into the dialogue with more power than the Joker. Batman is a free man and Joker is imprisoned. Batman has every advantage over the Joker and is in no physical danger. But physical danger is not where the tension lies in this scene. The tension develops from emotional danger. As soon as Batman asks for Joker's assistance, their power dynamic is thrown into flux. The Joker then attempts to use the Batman's need for help as a foothold to harm him emotionally, while Batman attempts to gather information while remaining emotionally unaffected. That is the conflict. And remember, narrative conflict is defined as whatever is standing in the way of a character achieving their goal. Finally, like many scenes, this scene can be broken down into a 3-act structure. This helps us understand the scene as its own little story and makes choosing dialogue a bit easier. Act 1, or the introduction of any story, is centered on introducing the characters and their goals, which was well accomplished here.
First anniversary paper. What makes you think I come so cheap?
I thought you'd be curious.
You think I could offer this stuff?
Don't you?
You have pictures.
Again, here we have a reiteration of the themes established by the opening dialogue. The Joker continuously makes comments towards a personal, almost twisted romantic relationship. What's interesting, though, is that Batman starts using Joker's own tactic against him and proceeds to appeal to Joker's personal desires.
I thought you'd be curious.
You think I could offer this stuff?
Don't you?
He isn't afraid to manipulate the Joker and show that two can play the game. But aside from that, one of the most powerful aspects about this scene is a writing technique I covered in a previous video that I call antagonist at rest. This is a form of writing where a traditional antagonist ceases to stand in opposition to the protagonist. And because the antagonist is no longer locked into actively fighting against our quote-unquote hero, other aspects of the antagonist's personality can be explored. This is the same thing that happened with Thanos' scene with Gamora. Here, Batman is looking for the Joker's insight, which in turn allows we viewers to gain a better perspective of the Joker's outlook. Sure, the Joker still is technically in opposition to the Batman, but he's not the antagonist of the overarching story. This allows us to see the Joker, a very old and well-established character, in a completely new light, making this new take on the Joker seem fresh and all the more alluring.
I wanted to create an iteration of him that felt distinctive and new, but went right back to the roots.
Now, we actually move into Act 2 of the scene, or the midsection, which seeks to explore the character and lay the groundwork for the climax. Pay close attention to the character-building dialogue ahead.
You have pictures. It's violence. It's so baroque. Oh, he likes little puzzles, doesn't he? So meticulous. Like he's been planning this his whole life. I know who he is.
Okay, now Joker only gives 5 lines of dialogue here, but they reveal a ton about him. In a scene so compact, individual word choices have huge implications. He calls the Riddler's violence baroque.
It's violence. It's so baroque.
Joker sees it as artistic, but over the top. In the very next line, he almost appears to talk down to the Riddler.
He likes little puzzles, doesn't he?
Then he settles on what borders appreciation and almost admiration of a contemporary's work.
So meticulous. Like he's been planning this his whole life.
Finally, just by looking over the details that Batman presented, the Joker has everything he needs.
I know who he is.
In just 5 lines, the dialogue has established a remorseless, criminally insane investigative psychoanalyst with a deep love of violence. And keep in mind, the Joker has not once delivered dialogue about himself. We learn so much about him by him addressing someone else. One of the best ways to show a character's personality in makeup is to give them dialogue on how they see the world and others.
Who is he?
He's a nobody. Wants to be somebody. The mayor, the commissioner. Yeah. He's got ambition.
You think his motive is political?
Oh, no. This is very, very personal. He feels these people have all wronged him. Probably goes way back. Unhealed wounds, stolen lunch money.
Joker deduces in 20 seconds what it has taken Batman the entire movie so far to find out.
He's had to spend a life of people looking at him in a certain way, and he knows how to get into your head. So this idea of him being very kind of incisive and brilliant and being able to get into your mind.
This is an example of showing versus telling. It would have been very easy for an Arkham guard to say, "Be careful in there, Bats, he's one of the most brilliant, dangerous criminals in Gotham." But man, that would have been lazy. Instead, the writing shows the Joker's intelligence through a demonstration of his deductive acumen. He was able to instantly know the inner workings of Riddler's mind just from a few pictures. But remember, the real tension in this scene isn't the Riddler. What makes Joker's deduction so threatening is that now we viewers have a benchmark for how skilled he is at getting into the minds of others. And his target from the very beginning of this conversation is Batman.
Why is he writing to me?
Maybe he's a fan of yours? Or maybe he's got a grudge against you too. Maybe you're the main course. Any theories?
Not yet.
Really? You're normally so ahead of the curve. But something is different this time. This is very upsetting to you.
Let's get back to him.
Good golly, this dialogue is smooth. All right, let's break this down. Batman gets what he wants from the Joker as far as perspective and information on the Riddler, but then he asks one more question.
Why is he writing to me?
And this is the Joker's in. Batman has just inquired about Riddler's personal feelings about him, which means any information delivered going forward has to be one of a personal nature. The Joker starts by addressing the possible reasons for Riddler's personal feelings towards Batman, but then, ever so subtly, he disguises a personal attack on Batman as one focused on the Riddler.
He's a fan of yours? Or maybe he's got a grudge against you too. Maybe you're the main course.
And once Batman takes the bait,
Any theories?
Not yet.
Joker goes in deeper.
Really? You're normally so ahead of the curve. But something is different this time. This is very upsetting to you.
Let's get back to him.
Why? You're so much more
I'm
fun.
not here to talk about me.
What are you here to talk about?
And here, we finally arrive to the overt statement of our conflict established in the introduction of the scene. Joker is searching for personal, emotional vulnerabilities, and Batman is striving to remain impersonal. And looking at the bigger picture, this is a great conflict for the scene to center on. The Batman of this movie is novice and emotional and raw. There are plenty of points in the film where his emotional maturity and readiness are called into question. So for the Joker to start attacking that directly here, even if just through dialogue, it plays towards a critical weakness of our character, which makes for highly empowered conflict.
I want to know how he thinks.
You know exactly how he thinks. Have you read this file? You two have so much in common. Masked Avengers. So he's even more righteous. Oh, afraid he makes you look soft.
You're wasting my time.
Here is a very important moment. Batman pulls away from the desk and disengages from the conversation. Outwardly, he states this reason is because his transactional back and forth with the Joker is no longer benefiting him. But the Joker isn't paying attention to what Batman's saying. The Joker is listening to the subtext. Subtext is the underlying message and theme of dialogue. Batman states that he is leaving because his time is being wasted, but the Joker is hearing the subtext that his words are starting to bother Batman. So often in the film, when presented with fight or flight, Batman chooses fight. It's honestly probably another weakness of his. But here, Batman cannot fight because he has lost his high standing in the power dynamic due to his emotional vulnerability. He has nothing to threaten the Joker with.
You have nothing to threaten me with. Nothing to do with all your strength.
Instead of fight, he must flee. But the Joker recognizes this and his upcoming dialogue capitalizes on it.
I'll tell you what I really think. I think you don't really care about his motives, whether he loves or hates you. I think somewhere deep down, you're just terrified. 'Cause you're not sure he's wrong, huh? You think they deserved it, huh? You think they deserved it.
And here we have the third act, or the climax, where the protagonist faces their greatest challenge. Climaxes result in the payoff of buildup, and that is exactly what we have here. The Joker is able to make this conversation personal, and he does it by attacking Batman's identity and sense of justice. And the best part about this dialogue is that the audience is put in the same position as Batman because we have to wrestle with if it's true or not. The fact that Batman could actually think these corrupt politicians and cops deserves what is coming to them is horrible. But it's not out of the question for this younger, more brutal Batman. And that rocks Bruce to his core because it contradicts everything that he exists for. In the end, Joker ends the conversation with the upper hand in literal last laugh, cementing his power and threat. And his most impactful line happens at the end to capitalize on that recency and latency bias. So, that's pretty much it. Even though this was a short scene, there was a ton to unpack both story-wise and writing-wise. I hope you guys can come away from this a bit more confident in your own ability to write dialogue, or maybe just found the breakdown cool. Anyway, thanks for watching all the way unto the end. If you like what you heard, like, comment, and subscribe. If you really want to be a homie, support the channel on Patreon or check out my website for editing services. I will include links below. As always, it was a pleasure, and I will talk to you all again soon.